Hello and welcome back. I'm Michelle, founder of J&B Inspired and host of Nervous System Reset for Caregivers. Welcome back to day 9. August 13th is Thursday. That is literally tomorrow, and I'm so glad you're here today because what I'm sharing is one of the most important conversations in this entire series. If you are here live, pop something in the comments, and if you're watching on replay, welcome. Stay with me for this one. It's really important. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. We're just getting into our episode today. Before I get into today, I wanted to share something that arrived in my messages this morning. A caregiver reached out and said this, and I'm sharing it with her full permission because I think it is the most honest description of what this series has been about. She said, I had this concern about the doctors when my daughter was in hospital. I was the only person in a room full of medical people, and I was the only one taking responsibility for her care. In the end, I had to reach out to the head of nursing staff to get them to reach out the head doctor with my concerns was the only option left when nobody wanted to take responsibility. It took 3 weeks of work to get the doctor on board. And that's doctors on board. I could have done with a script to help me. 3 weeks. One caregiver, one daughter, and a room full of medical professionals. And she was the only person in that room who kept pushing, who kept coming back and showing up. And I want to sit with that because that is not an unusual story. That is a Tuesday for thousands of caregivers around the world. And today I want to talk about what happens before that room. The hours, the days, the weeks of preparation that go into walking back through those doors again. The anticipatory anxiety that builds up before you have even arrived, and why having the right words prepared, practiced, already in your body changes everything about what is possible in that room. And that's so much for caregivers. And nobody really thinks about when you're sitting next to your loved one and there may be 6, 7, 8 medical professionals standing in front of you. Now that may be the lead consultant, their head registrar, the junior registrar, the junior doctor, the doctor who is just there in their first couple of weeks. It may be the head nurse, the nurse who is currently caring for your loved one. Now that is overwhelming for anybody. And most of our hospitals are about teaching the next generation of doctors. But what I want to start with is something that I think every caregiver watching needs to hear. In 2025, ECRI, which stands for Emergency Care Research Institute, one of the world's most respected independent patient safety organizations, published their annual list of the top 10 patient safety concerns across healthcare around the world. Number 1 on that list was dismissal of patient, family, and caregiver concerns. I want you to understand that that's not medication errors. That's not surgical complications. That's not technology failures. The number 1 patient safety risk identified by healthcare experts in 2025 is that caregivers and patients are not being heard. A survey conducted in 2023 found that more than 94% of respondents reported that they felt their symptoms were ignored or dismissed by a doctor. More than 94%. And the research tells us this dismissal is not equally distributed. Female patients are more likely to have their symptoms attributed to mental health or lack of self-care. Over 40% of women in one study avoided medical care completely because of past experiences of being dismissed. And research confirms that dismissing concerns can lead to delayed or misdiagnoses, with consequences that are not just inconvenient, but life-altering, and sometimes irreversible. This is not a gap in the system. This is a feature of the system, and caregivers are navigating it every single day. Often alone, often without a script, often without knowing that what they experienced had a name, or that the research backs up exactly what they felt in the room. And often there is no support for them. Today I want to talk about something that rarely gets named in the caregiving conversations, and that is the preparation room. The preparation room is not a physical space. It is everything that happens before you walk through the door of a hard room. It is the night before, when you cannot sleep because you are rehearsing what you are going to say. It's the morning of, when you are already running through scenarios in your head before you have even had breakfast. Excuse me. Sorry, I thought I was going to sneeze. It is the drive there, when you are going over your notes, your questions, your evidence. Because every medical appointment, you will have taken video, photos, written down what's happening, because evidence is required in every one of those rooms to be heard, to be believed, and to be understood. You're trying to make sure you have not missed anything. It is the car park when you sit for a moment and try to find something solid inside yourself before you walk in. Research tells us that anticipatory anxiety, the fear and the distress that builds up in the lead up to a threatening event, can begin days or even weeks before the event itself. And for caregivers who have already been dismissed, already been turned away, already had their concerns minimized, the preparation room is not just anxious, it's traumatized, because your nervous system has learned that what to expect in that room, and it is already preparing to protect you before you have even arrived. That anticipation of providing care and navigating medical systems evokes measurable anxiety. And caregivers who have experienced dismissal carry that experience as a nervous system memory, meaning the preparation room is not just about preparation. It is about regulation, getting your body regulated enough to access the words you need when you need them most. I want to share something personal again with you today, because this preparation room experience is one I know in my body from very early in my caregiving journey. My son was young. I'm talking about less than 6 months old. He was my first child. He had been struggling. There was blood in his stool. He was in significant pain, and we were in the children's hospital under the allergy department. And every time I raised my concerns, the team would take hours to come. And when they finally arrived, often after he had been given pain relief and was starting to settle, they would say they could not confirm or deny what had happened because they had not witnessed it in person. After hours of him screaming and being in distress, after the nurses had seen it, because the team had not been there in the moment, it could not be confirmed. So I started preparing, not just once, every single time I knew they were coming. I would spend hours beforehand going over what I was going to say, how I was going to present the evidence, how I was not going to let them leave that room without a plan. I started taking videos because another mother in the same room and ward suggested it. A mum who also was fighting for her child in that same system. We thought, if they will not come when it's happening, at least we can show them what it looks like. And even then, even with video evidence clearly showing my son's tensing and pain and the contraction of his stomach, I was told I was not working hard enough to distract him. I want to name what that does to a person, because it was not just dismissal. It was rewriting of reality. my son's pain documented on video in front of witnesses, and the response was that I was the problem, that I was not trying hard enough. And what happened over time was that anticipatory anxiety before each visit became bigger and bigger because I had learned what to expect. My nervous system had learned that no matter how prepared I was, no matter how clear the evidence was, the outcome was likely to be the same. We were moved into smaller and smaller rooms, and eventually we left. And then we had a significant bleed, and we went to a different hospital in my local area, which was over 2 hours away. And the staff there, they witnessed it, they saw it, and the response was completely different. We eventually moved to an allergy department, which was over 3 hours away. And that one decision to leave and seek care elsewhere saved my son's life. I shared this not for sympathy. I shared it because I know that somewhere watching this right now is a caregiver who is in that preparation room, who is spending hours before every appointment rehearsing what they are going to say, who is collecting evidence, who is trying to find the right words to make someone in a position of authority finally hear what they already know to be true. And I also want to confirm that my local hospital, when the doctor who witnessed it, who saw what was going on, actually rang the Children's Hospital Allergy Department, they told them that they couldn't confirm or deny whether or not it was actually happening because they weren't in the room, to a medical professional, a peer. And so it was decided then that we would go completely out of the system to a private allergist to get proper and appropriate care. And I want them to know you are not imagining it. The research backs you, the data backs you, and you deserve more than having to figure this out alone. Here is what nobody tells you about the preparation room. It is exhausting before the hard room even begins. Research tells us that the chronic activation of the nervous system in caregivers, the sustained state of vigilance and high alert, leads to measurable physical health consequences over time. And that preparation room is part of that chronic activation. It is not a neutral experience. It is the nervous system running threat detection mode on a loop in the hours and days before you even walk through the doors. And here is the compounding factor. When you have already been dismissed, when you have already had your concerns minimized, your evidence rejected, your reality rewritten, the preparation room becomes layered with something heavier than anxiety. It becomes layered with the questions of whether it will make any difference at all. That question, will it matter this time, is one of the most depleting things a caregiver can carry. Because it takes enormous energy to keep preparing, to keep gathering evidence, to keep rehearsing your words when the evidence of your experience tells you that preparation may not be enough. Research on caregiver burden confirms that caregivers who feel unprepared to navigate medical systems report significantly worse outcomes for themselves and for the people they care for. And yet the system does not prepare them. It does not hand them a script. It does not tell them what to say when they are dismissed, or even how to escalate, or what their rights are, or how to slow a room down when it is moving too fast for them to absorb. Interactions with the healthcare system can be traumatizing for families, and engaging in open and respectful conversation with family caregivers to address their concerns and uncertainties can foster trust and support better care experiences and outcomes for everyone involved. This is what the research says should happen. And that gap between what should happen and what actually happens is exactly the space that JMB Inspired was built to fill. So, what is different when you walk into the room with tools already in your body? The preparation room does not disappear. The anticipatory anxiety does not vanish, but the nature of the preparation changes. Instead of spending hours rehearsing an argument you hope you'll be heard, you spend that time building anchor phrases that are already yours. Phrases that do not depend on the other person responding the way you need them to. Phrases that keep you in the room, regulated, clear, and present, even when the room is pushing you toward freeze, or fight, or flight. Instead of taking notes in a panic while also managing your loved one's distress, you have a prep note that holds the critical information outside of your head. So your brain is freed up to actually be in the room, to listen, to respond, and to advocate with confidence. Instead of leaving and replaying everything you forgot to say, you have a grounding script that brings you back to center before you walk in, so your room starts from a more regulated place. I want to be really clear. This is not about being perfect in the room. It is about having something solid to come back to when the room tries to take the ground out from under you. This is exactly what we will build together tomorrow, on Thursday the 13th. I want to come back to the caregiver who reached out this morning because her story holds the answer to the question that has been running across the entire series. She said she was the only person in a room full of medical professionals taking responsibility for her daughter's care, and she found her way through the head nursing staff to the head doctor over 3 weeks to get the right people on board. What she did by instinct is exactly what the Hard Room Word Kit teaches with intention. She identified who held the authority in the room. She found the escalation pathway even without knowing that was what she was doing. She kept going back. She kept pushing. She kept advocating without a script, without support, over 3 weeks. And she got there. Her daughter got the care she needed. But it should not have taken 3 weeks. It should not have required that level of sustained effort from one person, alone in a room full of people who were supposed to be sharing that responsibility with her. The tools in the Hard Room Words Kit exist so the next caregiver in that room, in a room like that, with a child like that, with a system that is not responding, has the words to move that process forward faster, to name what is happening, to ask the right person, to document what was said, to advocate with clarity instead of having to figure it out under pressure over 3 weeks of her own nervous system running on high alert. To the mum asking what to do when she's in a hard room and the people meant to help are not listening, this is what to do. You find the escalation pathway. You ask for it in writing. You do not leave without a next step. And you practice the words before you walk in so that when the room tries to silence you, your body already knows what to say next. I want to be honest with you for a moment. We have caregivers registered for tomorrow. And I know there are more of you watching these lives every day who need to be in that room. Thursday is tomorrow, August 13th. The registration link is in the comments. It's $49. We go for 60 minutes live. There is a 14-day replay if you cannot make it live. And as a caregiver, I understand that our days don't always look the same. And you may sign up and have every intention of investing in yourself on that day. But I want you to have the confidence to know that you will still have the support from myself and my team if you can't attend live. The 14-day replay is just as powerful as being there in the room. You will have a community of support to access for that time. But I want to ask you something directly. If today landed, if you recognized yourself in the preparation room, in the hours of rehearsing before an appointment, in the anxiety that builds before you even walk through the door, then this workshop was built for you, specifically for you. And I want to ask you to do one thing right now, not tomorrow, right now while we are still sitting in this. Go to the registration link in the comments and grab your spot. And then tag a caregiver in the comments, someone you know who is sitting in a preparation room right now, who is spending hours before appointments trying to find the right words, who has been dismissed and is still going back. Please tag them. Share this replay with them, because the caregiver who needs a script 3 weeks ago, they are watching someone's live right now. Let it be this one. Tomorrow is day 10, and I will be back again 2-3 hours before we go live at 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. And I'm going to keep showing up every single day until we go live together. If today landed, if you recognized yourself in the preparation room, or in that caregiver's message, or in my story, drop something in the comments, even if it's on the replay. Tell me which part hit. I read every single one. And if you have a question for tomorrow, prior to the live, put it below and I'll answer it. And if you are listening to the Nervous System Reset for Caregivers podcast, the Caregiver Punch card is in the show notes. If you listen to 10 episodes, you'll receive 10 stamps. That means that you can email your completed card to support@jmbinspired.com and go into the draw for a caregiver gift. 1 episode, 1 stamp, 1 step at a time. The punch card is there to celebrate you, to say thank you for showing up for your loved one day in and day out. You may have a loved one who can celebrate you, and you may not have someone who is able to verbally tell you that you're doing an amazing job. But I'm here to tell you that I see you, I hear you, and I support you. And I'm so grateful that you're on this journey, supporting your loved one to thrive against the odds. So thank you. I also wanted to thank you for being here today. The preparation room is real. The hours you spend before every hard room, rehearsing, researching, gathering evidence, trying to find the right words, that counts. That matters. That is advocacy, and it deserves to be supported. Tomorrow, we will do that together live. The registration link is in the comments. It's also going to be in the description below this replay. It's August 13th, and I cannot wait to be in that room with you. And I'll see the rest of you back here tomorrow, prior to the live. Thank you so much for being here.